Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with some more Apocrypha. Today we're going to be continuing our exploration of the Book of Enoch by reading aloud and discussing as we go along. So let's dig in and see what's up. We are on chapter 4 because we left off in chapter 3. This is the intercession of the angels. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said to one another, the earth made without inhabitant cries the voice of their cryingst up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of ages, Lord of lords, God of God, King of kings, and God of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all generations of the ages, and thy holy name and glorious and blessed unto all the ages. Thou hast made all things, and power over all things thou, and all things are naked and open in thy sight, and thou seest all things, and nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou seest what Azazel has done, and who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And Samlazazaz, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates. And they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now behold, the souls of those who have died are crying out, and making their suit to the gates of heaven, and their lamentations have ascended, and cannot cease, because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before they come to pass, and thou seest these things, and thou dost suffer them. And thou dost not say to us what we are to do in regard to them, in regard to these. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One spake, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said to him, go to Noah, and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him that the end is approaching, and that the whole earth will be destroyed. And a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all the generations of the world. And again the Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudale, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness. And let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light. And on the day of that great judgment he shall be cast into the fire. And heal the earth which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague. And that all the children of men may not perish, though all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed, and have taught their sons. And the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. And to Gabriel said the Lord, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of the watchers from amongst men. Send them one day against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have. And no request that they make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalf. For they hope to live an eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. And the Lord said unto Michael, go, bind Samlazaz and his associates, who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. And when their sons have slain one another, and when they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment and the prison in which they shall be confined forever. And whosoever shall be condemned and destroyed will from thenceforth be bound together with them to the end of all generations, and destroy all the spirits of the reprobate and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end, and let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The work of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forevermore. And then shall all the righteous escape, and shall live till they beget thousands of children. And all the days of their youth and their old age shall they complete in peace. And then shall the whole earth be tilled in righteousness, and shall all be planted with trees, and be full of blessings. And all desirable trees shall be planted on it, and they shall plant vines on it, and the vine which they plant thereon shall yield wine in abundance. And as for all the seed which is sown thereon, each measure shall bear 1,000, and each measure of olives shall yield 10 presses of oil. And cleanse thou the earth from all oppression, and from all unrighteousness, and from all sin, and from all godlessness, and all the uncleanness that is wrought upon the earth, destroy from off the earth. And all the children of men shall become righteous, and all nations shall offer adoration, and shall praise me, and all shall worship me. And the earth shall be cleansed from all defilement, and from all sin, and from all punishment, and from all torment, and I will never again send upon it from generation to generation, and forever. And in those days I will open the store chambers of blessing which are in the heaven, and so as to send them down upon the earth over the work and labor of the children of men. And truth and peace shall be associated together throughout all the days of the world, and throughout all the generations of men. Before these things Enoch was hidden, and no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden, and where he abode, and what had become of him. And his activities had to do with the watchers, and his days were with the holy ones. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty and the King of the ages, and lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go, declare to the watchers of the heaven, who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. Say unto them, Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace, nor forgiveness of sin. And inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children, and murder of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children shall they lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity. But mercy and peace shall you not attain. And Enoch went and said, Azazel, thou shalt have no peace. A severe sentence has gone forth against thee to put thee in bonds, and thou shalt not have toleration, nor request granted to thee, because of the unrighteousness which thou hast taught, and because of all the works of godlessness and unrighteousness and sin which thou hast shown to men. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Lord of heaven. For from thenceforward they could not speak with him, nor lift up their eyes to heaven, for shame of their sins, which they had been condemned. Then I wrote out their petition, and the prayer in regard to their spirits, and their deeds individually, and in regard to their request that they should have forgiveness and length. And I went off and sat down at the waters of Dan, in the land of Dan, to the south of the west of Hermon, and I read their petition till I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions fell down upon me, and I saw visions of chastisement, and a voice came bidding me to tell it to the sons of heaven, and reprimand them. And when I awakened, I came unto them, and they were all sitting gathered together, weeping in Abasjel, which is between Lebanon and Sinisir, with their faces covered. And I recounted before them all the visions which I had seen in sleep, and began to speak the words of righteousness, and to reprimand the heavenly watchers. And so we're getting into the first of the severe contradictions, What do you mean, Pitt? What are you talking about? Here we are told that the watchers, who are fallen angels, who are also watchers, right? We answered the question from the last video. The watchers are the angels. And so part of the watchers fell and part of the watchers still remain. And what we see here is being told to bind the watchers who fell in the days of Noah. Well, that's completely contradictory to the book of Genesis, right? In the book of Genesis, in the book of Job, throughout the entirety of the Old Testament, the chief of the fallen watchers, angels, whatever you want to call them, the chief of them has dominion over this land. He not only can petition, but he does so in the book. So we do have a direct contradiction. But that's okay because the entirety of the Old Testament is a direct contradiction with itself several times within the same chapter. And so it's not that big of a deal, right? This is Apocrypha. This is outside of the scope. It's supposed to be in there. It is, right? The Book of Enoch is quoted by Jesus. It is quoted several times as you go through the Bible. But the contradictions are glaring. They are obvious. And it doesn't matter if you're then, right? If you are the group that is being lifted out of the surrounding, it doesn't matter that there are these contradictions. It matters to us thousands of years later when we have these morals ingrained in us, instilled in us, and we can look at them and be like, man, something ain't right there. What do you mean to tell me that God is not going to forgive? Well, that's a big one, right? It may not be a big one to you, but it's a very big one to me. I mean, are you telling me that God, the omnipotent, all-powerful, all-knowing, created these beings and didn't know that they were going to do this? Of course not. If God created them, he knew that this was at least a possibility, if not that they would choose it. And so he bears direct responsibility there. And if there is a genuine turn, then there should be forgiveness. And so, again, that is a contradiction to the Old Testament. But the binding, that didn't happen, right? According to the Old Testament, he has free reign. He is the God of where we are, right? We're even told that in the New Testament, that his will is being done. So what is being spoken here is directly contradicted by the Bible. Chapter 5. The book of the words of righteousness. The book of the words, the book of the words of righteousness, of the reprimand of the eternal watchers in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One in that vision I saw in my sleep. What I will now say with the tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men to converse therewith and understand with the heart. As he has created and given to man the power of understanding the word of wisdom, so hath he created me also, and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed unto you. Your petition will not be granted unto you, and from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven until all eternity. And in bonds of the earth, the decree has gone forth to bind you for all the days of the world. And previously you shall have seen the destruction of your beloved sons, and you shall have no pleasure in them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. And your petition on their behalf shall not be granted, nor yet on your own, even though you weep and pray and speak all the words contained in the writing which I have written. And the vision was shown to me thus. Behold, in the vision clouds invited me, and a mist summoned me, and the course of the stars and lightning sped and hasted me, and the winds in the vision caused me to fly, and lifted me upwards, and bore me into heaven. And I went in till I drew nigh to a wall which is built of crystals and surrounded by tongues of fire, and it began to affright me. And I went into the tongues of fire, and drew nigh to a large house which was built of crystals, and the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystals, and its groundwork was of crystal. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars and the lightnings, and between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And I entered into that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no delights of life therein. Fear covered me, and trembling got hold upon me. And as I quaked and trembled, I fell upon my face, and I beheld a vision. And lo, there was a second house, greater than the former, and the entire portal stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire. And in every respect it is so excelled in splendor and magnificence, and the extent that I cannot describe to you its splendor and its extent. And its floor was of fire, and above it were lightnings, and the path of the stars. And its ceiling also was flaming fire. And I looked and saw therein a lofty throne. Its appearance was as crystal, and the wheels thereof as the shining sun. And there was a vision of cherubim. And from underneath the throne came streams of flaming fire, so that I could not look thereon. And the great glory sat thereon, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter, and could behold his face by reason of the magnificence and glory, and no flesh could behold him. The flaming fire was round about him, and a great fire stood before him, and none around could draw nigh to him. 10,000 times 10,000 were before him, yet he needed no counselor. And the most holy ones who were nigh to him did not leave by night or depart from him. And until then I had been prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own mouth, and said to me, Come hither, Enoch, and hear my word. And one of the holy ones came to me and waked me, and he made me rise up and approach the door, and I bowed my face downwards. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, Fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness, approach hither and hear my voice. And go, say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them, You should intercede for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons? And though ye were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, you have defiled yourselves with the blood of women, and have begotten with the blood of flesh, and as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also do who die and perish. Therefore I have given them wives also, that they might impregnate them, and beget children by them, and thus nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life, and immortal for all generations of the world. And therefore I have not appointed wives for you. For as the spiritual ones of heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. And now the giants, who are produced from the spirits in flesh, shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men, and from the watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the souls of whose flesh the spirits, having gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment in which the ages shall be consummated, over the watchers and the godless, yea, shall be wholly consummated. And now, as to the watchers who have sent thee to intercede for them, who have been aforetime in heaven, say to them, You have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to you. And you knew worthless ones, and these in the hardness of your heart you have made known to the women. And though through the mysteries women and men work much evil on earth, Say to them, therefore, you have no peace. And so ends chapter 5. And basically, what this is saying, yeah, you violated the rules, and so I'm not going to ever allow you to ever reconcile. And that is against the principles by which God stands. It goes against the New Testament in total, right? Because if the Watchers were to believe in Jesus according to the New Testament, they would be forgiven automatically. So that's a loophole? No, it's not. This is an allegory, right? This is saying that you were supposed to be holy and you fell, so now the consequences are upon you. Whether that is actually true or not is up for debate. I believe that these entities are real. I believe that the things that they did are real and they are given license. They are removed from the physical incarnation and cast about on the earth as spirits. That's what we just read, right? So the spirits of jealousy and anger, right? The temptations that come from these things are directly results of, right? That is the allegory that is being laid out. That you are tempted to lust by this angel. It's not. It's human nature. It's you. Are the entities real? Yes. Can you make deals with them? Yes. Should you? No. Not in any circumstance with any of the entities, good or bad, should you be entering into compact. But if you do, then take care to take the proper precautions. Make sure that you are following the rules of creation. I believe that these entities are real and they can influence you, but that you have to volunteer for that. They cannot come upon you without you allowing that to happen if you are following the precepts of God. Chapter 6, Taken by Angels. Angels took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire, and when they wished, they appeared as men. Another thing, how was heaven just described to us? Crystalline, consumed in fire, and both extraordinarily hot and cold at the same time. That sounds more like hell than heaven to me. And they brought me to the place of darkness, to a mountain, the point of whose summit reached the heaven. And I saw the places of the luminaries and the treasuries of the stars, and of the thunder, and in the uttermost depths, where were a fiery bow and arrows, and their quiver, and a fiery sword, and all the lightnings. And they took me to the living waters, and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, in which the fire flows like water, and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers, and came to the great river, and to the great darkness, and went to a place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place whence all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouths of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the deep. I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation, and the firm foundations of the earth. I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the firmament of the heaven. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven. I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and all the stars to their setting. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above, and I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, and 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east was of colored stone, one of pearl, one of jacinth, and one of the south, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire. And beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth, where the heavens were completed. And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure alike, and towards the height and towards the depth. I saw beyond that abyss, and beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and horrible place. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt shall be consummated, for 10,000 years. And Uriel said to me, Here stand the angels, who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall stand the angels, who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens. And I, Enoch, alone saw the vision, the ends of all things, and no man shall see as I have seen. Okay, so a couple of things here. We have a direct contradiction with the last chapter, right? What do you mean, Bid? In the last chapter, they were banished forever, for all of eternity, and here it's only 10,000 years. A direct contradiction, again. Here's another point that is important to point out here, right? I fully believe that prophecy is real. If you came from the Bible study, then you know that, but if you haven't, if you have just decided to tag along for Enoch, you don't. I do believe that prophecy is real, but there's an important caveat to always be placed upon prophecy. You can only understand prophecy in as much as you can understand the components of it. By that I mean, if Enoch had in the Spirit been brought to sit right here next to me, he would not be able to explain the technology by which I am pointing to you. He could not understand nor comprehend the fact that me talking to these bright screens would somehow convey to you separately, across distance, my meanings. He wouldn't have the concept for that. He wouldn't understand that. He wouldn't understand the lights that I use, right? It's not a flame. It's not a lamp. It's not a torch. It's not a fire. It would be incomprehensible. It would just be something that he described as a white light. It is only possible to understand prophecy through the lens that you already possess. You may absolutely be given new information in prophecy, but the chance of you understanding something more complicated than your current paradigm is diminishingly small. When he talks about the firmament, that does not mean that there is an actual firmament. I know that that's going to set off a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is we do travel through space. We are on a globe. We are separated by electromagnetic harmonics from the waters below and the waters above by the waters in which we reside. The air we breathe is a fluid. We distinguish it as an air, as a vapor, right? That is our distinguishment due to our considerations, but it moves like a fluid. It fills the space like a fluid. It's just less dense. So we're in the waters here. There are waters above us that are less dense than we can stand. And there are waters below us that are more dense than we can stand. We are separated. We are here on this globe, which is spinning and circulating. Now, whether the Copernican theory of us rotating around the sun is correct or whether the Tychos model is correct, that's up for debate. I lean more towards Tychos than I do towards the Copernican, but I don't know. I don't have the perspective to stand outside of the solar system and watch it. I can only go by computer models and observations. The Tychos model lays to complete waste almost every single flat earth argument that there is. If you don't know what Tychos is, you should definitely look that up. When he speaks in prophecy, bear in mind that it can only be understood by the limits of his understanding, by the paradigm in which he currently exists. So when he places these things, it is due to the significance that is contained in his environment already. That is true for every single prophecy ever. If you or me were to have a prophetic vision today, it would be limited by the scope of our paradigm. And then there was one more thing. What was it? Oh, the sacrificing to demons as gods. That is the entirety of the Old Testament. I stand on that like with both feet screaming out loud. That is the paradigm shift that God gave me. When I realized that every single blood sacrifice was to the wrong entity, it changed the scope of the study. You can watch it happen in real time. And so every single time that a blood sacrifice was required, it was to a demon and not to God. Chew on that for a minute. Chapter 7, the Holy Angels. And these are the names of the holy angels who watch mankind. The Watchers. Uriel, one of the holy angels, who is over the world and over Tartarus, which is the underworld. Raphael, one of the holy angels, who is over the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries. That would be the heavens. Michael, one of the holy angels, to wit, that he is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos. That's interesting. Seraquel, one of the holy angels who is set over the spirits, who sin in the spirit. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who is over paradise and the serpents and the cherubim. Ramiel, one of the holy angels, whom God set over those who rise. And I proceeded to where things were chaotic, and I saw there something horrible. I saw neither a heaven above nor a firmly founded earth, but a place chaotic and terrible. And there I saw 7 stars of the heaven bound together in it, like great mountains, and burning with fire. 7 mountains. 7 mountains. Did you hear that? 7 mountains. That's the second reference so far. And then I said, for what sin are they bound, and on what account have they been cast hither? Then said Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and was chief over them, and said, Enoch, why does you ask? And why art thou eager for the truth? These are of the number of the stars of heaven, which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and are bound here till 10,000 years. The time entailed by their sins are consummated. And from thence I went to another place, which was still more horrible than the former, and I saw a horrible thing. A great fire there which burnt and blazed, and the place was cleft as far as the abyss, being full of great descending columns of fire. Neither its extent nor magnitude could I see, nor could I conjecture. And then I said, how fearful is this place, and how terrible to look upon. And then Uriel answered me, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said to me, Enoch, why hast thou such fear and affright? And I answered, because of this fearful place, and because of the spectacle of the pain. And he said unto me, this place is the prison of the angels, and here they will be in prison forever. And thence I went to another place, the mountain of hard rock. And there was in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth. How smooth are the hollow places and deep and dark to look at? And then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, these hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein. Yea, that all the souls of the children of men should assemble here. And these places have been made to receive them till the day of their judgment, and till their appointed period, till the great judgment upon them. And I saw a dead man making suit, and his voice went forth to heaven and made suit. And I asked Raphael, the angel who was with me, and I said to him, this spirit which maketh suit, whose is it? Whose voice goes forth and maketh suit in heaven? And he answered me, saying, this is the spirit which went forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew. And he makes his suit against him, till his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men. Then I asked regarding it, and regarding all the hollow places, why is one separated from the other? And he answered me and said unto me, these 3 have been made that the spirits of the dead might be separated, and such a division has been made for the spirits of the righteous, in which there is the bright spring of water, and such has been made for the sinners when they die and are buried in the earth, and judgment has not been executed on them in their lifetime. Here their spirits shall be set apart in this great pain till the great day of judgment and punishment and torment of those who curse forever and retribution for their spirits. There he shall bind them forever, and such a division has been made for the spirits of those who make their suit, who make disclosures concerning their destruction, when they were slain in the days of the sinners. Such has been made for the spirits of men who were not righteous, but sinners, who were complete in transgressions, and of the transgressors they shall be companions. But their spirits shall not be slain in the day of judgment, nor shall they be raised from thence. The eye blessed the Lord of glory, and said, blessed be my Lord, the Lord of righteousness, who ruleth forever. From thence I went to another place to the west of the ends of the earth, and I saw a burning fire which ran without resting, and paused not from its course day or night, but regularly. And I asked, what is this which rests not? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me and said unto me, this course of fire which thou hast seen is the fire in the west, which persecutes all the luminaries of heaven. And from thence I went to another place of the earth, and he showed me a mountain range of fire, which burnt day and night. And I went beyond it, and I saw 7 magnificent mountains, all differing from each other, and the stones were magnificent and beautiful, magnificent as a whole, of glorious appearance and fair exterior, 3 towards the east, 1 founded on the other, and 3 towards the south, one upon the other, and deep, rough ravines, no one of which joined with any other. And the 7th mountain was in the midst of these, and it excelled them in height, resembling the seat of a throne, and fragrant trees encircled the throne. And amongst them was a tree such as I had never smelt, neither was any among them, nor were any others like it. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrance, and its leaves and blooms and wood wither not forever, and its fruit is beautiful, and its fruit resembles the dates of a palm. And then I said, how beautiful is this tree, and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms very delightful in appearance. Then answered Michael, one of the holy and honored angels who was with me, and was their leader. And he said unto me, Enoch, why dost thou ask me regarding the fragrance of the tree, and why dost thou wish to learn the truth? And then I answered him, saying, I wish to know about everything, but especially about this tree. And he answered, saying, This high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is his throne, where the great Holy One, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit, when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. And as for this fragrant tree, No mortal is permitted to touch it till the great judgment, when he shall take vengeance on all and bring to its consummation forever. It shall then be given to the righteous and holy. Its fruit shall be food for the elect. It shall be transplanted to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. Then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad, and into the holy place shall they enter, and its fragrance shall be in their bones. And they shall live a long life on earth, such as thy fathers lived, and in their days shall no sorrow or plague or torment or calamity touch them. Then blessed I the God of glory, the eternal King, who hath prepared such things for the righteous, and hath created them, and promised to give them. And I went from thence to the middle of the earth, and I saw a blessed place, in which there were trees with branches, abiding and blooming. And I saw a holy mountain, and underneath the mountain to the east there was a stream, and it flowed towards the south. And I saw towards the east another mountain higher than this, and between them a deep and narrow ravine. In it also ran a stream underneath the mountain. And to the west thereof there was another mountain, lower than the former, and of small elevation, and a ravine deep and dry between them. And another deep and dry ravine was at the extremities of the three mountains. And all the ravines were deep and narrow, of hard rock, and trees were not planted upon them. And I marveled at the rocks, and I marveled at the ravine. Yeah, I marveled very much. And then said I, for what object is this blessed land, which is entirely filled with trees, and this accursed valley between? And then Uriel, one of the angels who was with me, answered and said, this accursed valley is for those who are accursed forever. Here shall all the accursed be gathered together, who utter with their lips against the Lord unseemly words, and of his glory speak hard things. Here shall they be gathered together, and here shall there be their place of judgment. In the last days there shall be upon them the spectacle of righteous judgment, in the presence of the righteous forever. Here shall the merciful bless the Lord of glory, the eternal King. And in the days of judgment over the former, they shall bless him for the mercy in accordance with which he has assigned them. Then I blessed the Lord of glory, and set forth his glory, and lauded him gloriously. And thence I went towards the east, into the midst of the mountain range of the desert, and I saw a wilderness, and it was solitary, full of trees and plants, and water gushed forth from above, rushing like a copious watercourse towards the northwest. It caused clouds and dew to ascend on every side. And thence I went to another place in the desert, and approached to the east of this mountain range. And there I saw aromatic trees exhaling the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh, and the trees also were similar to the almond tree. And beyond these I went afar to the east, and I saw another place, a valley of water, and therein there was a tree, the color of fragrant trees such as the mastic. And on the sides of those valleys I saw fragrant cinnamon, and beyond these I proceeded to the east. And I saw other mountains, and among them were groves of trees, and there flowed forth from them nectar, which is named Sarara and Gabanum. And beyond these mountains I saw another mountain, to the east of the ends of the earth, whereon were aloe trees, and all the trees were full of stacte, being like almond trees, and when one burnt it, it smelt sweeter than any fragrant odor. And after these fragrant odors, I looked toward the north over the mountains, and I saw 7 mountains, full of choice nard and fragrant trees, and cinnamon and pepper. And thence I went over the summits of all these mountains, far towards the east of the earth, and passed above the Erythraean Sea, and went far from it, and passed over the angel Zotiel. And I came to the garden of righteousness, and from afar off I saw numerous trees, and these great, 2 trees there, very great, beautiful, and glorious and magnificent, and the tree of knowledge, whose holy fruit they eat and know great wisdom. That tree is in height like the strangler fig, and its leaves are like the carob tree, and its fruit is like the clusters of the vine, very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar. And then I said, how beautiful is the tree? How attractive is its look? And then Raphael, the holy angel who was with me, answered me and said that this is the tree of wisdom, of which thy father old and thy aged mother, who were before thee, have eaten. And they learnt wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden. And from thence I went to the ends of the earth, and saw there great beasts, and each differed from the other, and birds, also differing in appearance and beauty and voice, the one differing from the other. And to the east of those beasts I saw the ends of the earth, whereon the heaven rests, and the portals of the heaven open. And I saw how the stars of heaven came forth, and I counted the portals out of which they proceeded, and wrote down all of their outlets, of each individual star by itself, according to their number and their names, their courses and their positions, and their times and their months, as Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, showed me. He showed all things to me and wrote them down for me. Also their names he wrote for me, and their laws and their companies. And from thence I went towards the north, to the ends of the earth, and there I saw a great and glorious device at the ends of the whole earth. And here I saw 3 portals of heaven open in the heaven. Through each of them proceeded the north winds. When they blow, there is cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. And out of one portal they blow for good. But when they blow through the other 2 portals, it is with violence and affliction on the earth. And they blow with violence. And from thence I went towards the west to the ends of the earth, and I saw there 3 portals of the heaven, open such as I had seen in the east, and the same number of portals and the same number of outlets. And from thence I went to the south, to the ends of the earth, and I saw there 3 open portals of the heaven. And thence there came dew, rain, and wind. And from thence I went to the east, to the ends of the heaven, and I saw here the 3 eastern portals of heaven open, and small portals above them. Through each of these small portals passed the stars of heaven, and run their course to the west on the path which is shown to them. And as often as I saw, I blessed always the Lord of glory, and I continue to bless the Lord of glory, who has wrought great and glorious wonders, to show the greatness of his work to the angels, and to the spirits, and to men, that they might praise his work in all his creation, that they might see the work of his might, and praise the great work of his hands, and bless him forever. And so we come to the end of, what are we at, 7, I think? Let's see. There are several things to discuss here, and we're going to go all the way back up to the beginning to do it. This is 7. Yeah. These are the heavenly names of the holy watchers, right? Uriel, who watches over the world, and death. Seems to me that someone else was given charge over the dead. Raphael, one of the holy angels who is over the spirits of men. Raguel, who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries. That is in the heavens. That is the things we see in the heavens. That might be the holy fire sword of God. Michael, that he is set over the best part of man. And Seraquel, who is set over the spirits, who sin in the spirit. So you have an angel watching the sins, guarding the sins. Gabriel, who is over paradise and the serpents of the cherubim. This is one of the ways that you can be almost certain that this is not pre-Mosaic, because there is no paradise in the entirety of the Old Testament. There is an Enoch, and Enoch has been removed from the Old Testament for my purposes, but there is no paradise, right? There is no heaven. But paradise was the Garden of Eden, and the serpents lived in the Garden of Eden along with the cherubim. So Gabriel probably is not in charge of heaven, but instead over Eden, which we have just seen is still on the earth. Imagine that. And then Remiel, whom God set over those who rise. What? That don't even make sense. And I proceeded to where things were chaotic, and I saw there something horrible, neither a heaven above nor a firmly founded earth, but a place chaotic and horrible, and the seven stars of heaven bound together in it. There is, in the New Testament, much talk about the seven mountains and how there will be something coming from heaven to settle upon the earth, that it will be a new throne. I don't know how much I believe in that, right? We have talked about that in Revelation, but here they keep expounding upon the seven mountains, but it is not seven mountains together. It is three to the east, three to the south, and one in the middle. That is not normal. Like, that's an unusual configuration, right? I don't know and can only speculate as to why we are getting these directions. But it probably has to do with the shift that is coming and things turning 90 degrees. That has probably got something to do with it. We get several descriptions of the lands around, right? Nothing that he describes other than the Garden of Eden or outside of the scope of the planet, right? Again, it is important to remember that prophecy can only be expounded upon to the degree that you understand it. You can only understand things according to the paradigm that you are currently under. Your lack of knowledge will absolutely misconstrue whatever prophecy we have. There are several direct contradictions to the Bible, right? To the affirmed works that are considered the canonical Bible. This is mentioned several times in there, but it is a collection of stories, just like the rest of the Bible. It does not mean that it is incontrovertible fact. We know that there is not a firmament. There is a dividing line, though. There is something that holds it in place. Otherwise, we wouldn't have an atmosphere. I believe that is electromagnetics. I have thoroughly discussed that. And I believe that the firmament is merely talking about the fact that the airs are separated, that they had some knowledge, that there was something beyond, though. I do believe that we have a misunderstood idea about what space is, right? The emptiness is not empty. There is something there. It is plasma. It is dark plasma, but it is a water. It is not on a level that we are accustomed to understanding, right? It is almost vapor to the point of non-communication between the vapors, right? There is such expanse between the molecules as to be vacant. But there is no vacancy. Nature abhors a vacuum. There is something there. We just don't understand it. I believe that is the waters above, which has been separated from the waters below. And we live in the waters that are, right? Our air is a water. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I understand that I hold some unconventional views and beliefs, but I don't try to offend people. I'm just pointing out inconsistencies. There are truths held in almost every book. Even works of fiction contain truth. The problem gets when you take firm stances on things that cannot be proven, right? If you believe that there is a fake or a flat earth, you are beyond foolish because you personally can go out and check it. You personally can go out and test it. And you will be shown that the earth is not indeed flat. There is no edge that you can walk off of. There is no surrounding of frozen that you cannot get past. There is no firmament holding like a globe on top of the flat earth. There is, however, electromagnetic harmonics throughout the universe, and at times it gets disturbed, but it is there. We are currently, as of today, May the 10th, 2024, about to see the aurora borealis extend well into almost to the southern hemisphere. We will see the aurora borealis possibly in Louisiana. That's insane. That is because of the electromagnetics that are taking place out there. The fact that we can observe the sun and know that these effects are going to hit us days ahead of time proves your flat earth wrong. It proves your firmament incorrect. I know that that is going to touch on some feelies, but it is simply the truth. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt State. Peace.